Figured I'd make a video now that I got this thing kind of assembled. There ain't much to this stuff. It's just resistors. I could go through an op amp, but I don't think I'm going to do that. It's just a passive 8-channel mixer. That's all it is. And I've got mostly 10K resistors in there. I think there's some 2.8s there for the overheads. And turned everything down. So there's a song going on in the background and you can't really hear it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in the overheads, and here it is. I've labeled all the potentiometers. I've got one more that I got to go, but I don't have enough parts. I need a jack, and I have a potentiometer, but I just don't have the jack. And I about went through everything I can think of to get all this to work. And so the breadboard's gone, and here it is, all the wires feeding back from the ADAT right there, and that's one of our tunes going. And I'm going to go ahead and turn up the overheads. These are probably just temporary pots. And let's see, which one is this? This is the kick, so you'll hear the kick coming in now. Hopefully you can hear some of that on the recording. Let's see, I'm going to go ahead and turn up the snare. Snare coming in. Let's see, bass is next. I think that's the bass. Number 3 is bass. Yep, you can definitely hear a difference. Kick is number 5. So bringing in the guitars, 1. That's what I recorded on mostly. Started adding track 2 a little bit later in some of our recordings to get that stereo. So as it goes to the different tunes, it's just kind of got to dial it in. I had a pretty good sound before I turned everything down. And I think some of the channels affect each other. I got to figure, I'm going to do some digging into that and see if I can eliminate that. But for what it is, I basically saved the money. So I can bring the guitars down. Hear the bass. That was kick I brought down. There's a good mix on the drums. There we go. That sounds better. That's a pretty good mix. You're looking at the back side of the board there, and I decided to try to explore into panning, which this is a pan knob. I don't know if it's quite doing what I really want it to do, but it's a start, and you can't tell if you were to hear it. So I'm just going to kind of talk through this stuff. But basically, it's supposed to be like, a regular pan. Like if you go to the right, it would be on the right. If you go on the left. And I've got back here like guitar 1 channel. We'll say channel 1, I'm sorry. Channel 1. And then I've got it fed where all these resistors are attached to each other, and there is a contact point right there. Well, that's what this red wire is all about. So that tells us, or basically we got 2 stages on this mixer. So I'm trying to put together all the inputs over here on this board, and I elected today to just do a lot of experimenting. And I have 2 independent line outs. So we'll call this line out 1, line out 2. And I went through a whole bunch of different ways for settling on what I've done here. And I've chose to go with the transistors. They just seem to work the best for me. So I got transistor stage 1 here, and then they're not connected or anything like that, but I am making that run off a 9-volt battery to supply both of those. So the thing about it is, if you were to fire this thing up, I'm using my ADAT there, you would hear channel 1 solely on this right here. And then the rest of the ensemble would be here. So, like I say, just going through some experimenting today. Been at it all day, and it takes time to figure out how you're going to do things, of course, just like I've done with all these other projects. And this is an 8-channel mixer. And again, the summing, I mean, you know, the adding of all the channels will be either input 1 or input 2. So I'm kind of thinking that it's going to be like if I was to try to record into a CD recorder. You got your left and you got your right. So I want to basically have that kind of setup. So to make a long story short, your inputs go into here. It'll be on the circuit eventually, excuse me. And out of what we have here on the perf board is feeding to input 1, input 2. And my plan is to have these panning pots on various things to where I can get the extreme left and right if I was to try to record. Speaking of recording, I practiced looking at this thing. I recorded into it, so that means that I am getting the input signals to do those things. So I'm using this as well as the ADAT. So with all that, I got to build this input stage 1. If all goes well, then I'll go to input 2. And it will all be on this perf board or this circuit. And then I got to figure out the enclosures and all that other stuff.